My name is Zachary Conan, and this is a question from my asker or my curious cat, so I don't know exactly who suggested this versus idea, but it was about my biggest hot take of the 2010s for cinema, and that leads directly into a versus, a pretty spicy versus with a lot of big moods and hot takes. But this is about Her, the film by Spike Jonze, made in 2013, versus Lost in Translation, one of my favorite films of all time, if not my absolute favorite one, made in 2003 by Sofia Coppola, his ex-wife. My hot take is that Her is one of the most emotionally oblivious, grossly self-centered, egotistical, and, I believe, deliberately misleading response to Lost in Translation that I could ever think of. It's one of the most emotionally self-centered and oblivious films of all time. It's a well-known truth. It's never been confirmed, like widely or absolutely confirmed, that Spike's Her was a response to Lost in Translation. Lost in Translation, Charlotte, played by Scarlett Johansson, is seen quite often, quite broadly, I see it this way as well, as an analog for Sofia Coppola, for what she was actually feeling, which makes Giovanni Ribisi's character, John, the husband, who is clinically disinterested in her, and a pretty grossly egotistical individual who is completely emotionally unaware and unavailable, the Giovanni Ribisi character, a reflection of Spike Jonze. And people who know Spike Jonze have said, yeah, Giovanni's doing a Spike caricature, a Spike impression. And I love Giovanni Ribisi, he's one of my favorite actors of all time. Before we go any further, I think Spike Jonze is wonderful. I think his collaborations with Kaufman are particularly great. Adaptation, Being John Malkovich, those are two of the most interesting films made in the last 35 years. Where the Wild Things Are even made me weep. You know, that Karen O song in it. Oh my gosh. Spike Jonze is incredibly talented. Love his music videos. Sabotage. I love Spike Jonze. I don't remember the actual music video itself, but the one with Bjork with like the cat or something, that was great too. He's incredibly talented in Sonic Youth music videos. So I'm not shitting on him overall. I'm shitting on this movie though. Her is terrible. Her is awful. It's as if he deliberately misunderstood everything about Sofia Coppola's beautiful film about human connection, about the idea that we live in a noisy, cacophonous universe, just full of all of this static, and that it's so hard to find meaning in it, that our lives have been lost in the translation of being, and that we're trying to become in a universe that has been 1,000 different things already, 1,000 different times. But we have to just keep our ear close to what could matter, and maybe we can hear something that makes us feel like we're not hopeless. Spike Jonze deliberately misunderstood all of that and took the opportunity of Her to take pitiful pot shots at his ex-wife, Sofia Coppola. In fact, using Scarlett Johansson, Sofia Coppola's muse in Lost in Translation, the analog for herself, as this disembodied, hypersexualized, and pleading and misunderstanding voice in Her for the computer simulation, was one of the most unsubtle fucking jabs I've ever seen at anyone. I do think this is interesting because you have two films having a dialogue with each other, made 10 years apart, and one's a response. What I don't like, though, is that, like, film bros and, like, I don't know, wannabe fucking incels, idiots, have taken it upon themselves to champion Her as some sort of great artistic film. Not only is it just a piss-poor, fucking emotionally unavailable piece of shit movie, piece of shit response to Lost in Translation, because that's what it is. It's a response to it, and it's tone-deaf as fuck. Not only is it thematically and emotionally vapid, it's over-directed, it is over-composed, it is Spike Jonze showing off as best that he can, and fuck the Academy for giving that film the same prestige that gave Lost in Translation with the Best Original Screenplay Oscar. It's bullshit. It's almost chauvinistic. It's an awful fucking movie. So we get into the point here. Obviously, what Sofia Coppola said about him in Lost in Translation got to him. But the problem is, she thought it was all about, Spike Jonze thought that Sofia's film, Lost in Translation, was all about him. Like, you're such a sucker, you probably think this song is about you. It just shows how just self-involved he is. His self-involvement is so fucking gross. He's self-obsessed. He watches a movie like Lost in Translation and thinks that Giovanni Ribisi is the main character, that Giovanni Ribisi's character, that his own analog in the film is the key, is the missing puzzle, that he could fix her. He didn't even understand the goddamn movie. Which is so weird, because Spike Jonze is way more intelligent than I will ever be. But it kind of confirms everything about Giovanni Ribisi and Sofia Coppola's representation of him, of that very simplistic and emotionally unavailable caricature. One of the parts I love in Lost in Translation is when Charlotte is looking over Polaroids that John took, as John's a photographer who has eyes for Anna Faris and absolutely no time for his beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fucking wife. Emotionally or physically. But she's looking over Polaroids that he took, and they're like selfie style, only her husband takes up 85% of the frame because he thinks it's all about him. If this isn't a direct reflection or a direct foreshadowing of what her would turn out to be, then I have no idea what would be more prescient, what would be more accurate. Sofia Coppola is a goddamn psychic. She can read into the human character immaculately well with daring and with the focus of, I don't know, one of the great philosophers of our time. Lost in Translation is a film that tells you you're not hopeless in spite of everything you know in the postmodern universe. Her is a film that says, I'm not hopeless. Do you understand what the problem is with that? One is grossly self-centered, one is grossly egotistical, and the other one is selfless. The other one wants to help you find your way, to translate your own meaning. There's a difference between you're not hopeless, which is Lost in Translation, and I am not hopeless, her. There's a difference between selflessness and selfishness, and that is the main primary difference between these two films. I also think Her is, like I said, just terribly put together, terribly made. I think it's awful. I think it is really awful. Spike Jonze does have a habit of over-composing his films, of over-directing them. The thing is, he's so fucking creative and so intelligent in certain aspects of his films, but emotionally, he's crippled. And I really want to maybe do an analysis of his work and kind of figure out where that comes from. It does benefit the films. I mean, if Being John Malkovich was made by someone who was emotionally healthy, it would not work. It needed to be made by someone who was emotionally deficient or flawed, like Spike Jonze. Being John Malkovich is as beautiful and as incredible as it is because Spike Jonze is as detached or disassociated, perhaps, from romanticism and eroticism as he was, or maybe continues to be still. I can't speak for him. I do not know him. This is just film criticism. And he decided to make a response film to one of my favorite films of all time, so forgive me for being so impassioned about this. But I see way more love and tribute and respect being just lopped over, just being just glazed over Her, and Lost in Translation is almost getting lost in the shuffle of the wake of Her. Her is awful. Her just gives like a false confidence to all of these socially awkward, inept, self-obsessed, pseudo-intellectual morons who don't understand a woman's statement about life and about connection and meaning, and think that it's all about their life and their connection and their meaning with that woman. It's supposed to be you're not hopeless, Spike. And she was saying that to you as well, to everyone who was there and available to pick up on the message and interpret it correctly. It's supposed to be you're not hopeless, not I am not hopeless. And that's the deathly flaw with Her. But thank you for watching this video. If you want to leave a suggestion versus like filmmakers, actors, films that are like kind of alike, we will compare the two, face them off, square them off, see what's different about each one, see if I get as triggered as I did in this video. Hopefully I don't again. You can either leave suggestions in the comments below, or like this one came from Curious Cat, which is like an anonymous place where you could ask me questions. It's my Twitter link is in the description of this video. You can click on that and you'll be able to find it from there if you want to ask me something like in confidence, in the shadows. And if I think that I have enough to say about it, I will definitely put it into a video and, I don't know, ramble about it, ramble on about it, try to provide some interesting insight and some interesting ideas. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I mean, this is just my opinion as well. There are a lot of people who I respect and whose taste that I actually certainly admire and appreciate their feedback, who do love the movie Her. And they have their own reasons for it, just like I have my own reasons for despising it so heavily and so intensely as I do. That's the beauty of film criticism, and that's hopefully one of the high points of my channel, is that we can all have like these huge disagreements. Like I just said some very disparaging things about Spike Jonze, who is a very beloved filmmaker. Some very disparaging things. I'm just happy I didn't call him Spike Lee accidentally. I always misspeak, and that would be the most tragic way to misspeak in this video, so I'm very proud of myself. But just because I say something disparaging about someone who is beloved does not mean I don't enjoy his work, or that his work does not have value, or that I feel that I have somehow more value than he does in any way. That's one of the grand misconceptions of film criticism. These films are very important. Even Her is important. Even in my own opinion, it's important as a gigantic misstep in responding to a colossal masterpiece. It's like how you don't do it, and you don't be self-involved about it. Well, self-involved to the point of mania, to the point of Joaquin Phoenix mania. That's unforgivable, and all the beautiful women in it, like, oh my god, let me show off. Like, fuck you, dude. Okay, we gotta stop before I get triggered again. Thank you very much for watching this video. My name is Zachary Conan. Subscribe, like, comment, share, and yeah, thanks for sticking with this channel.